Welcome to another episode of the Go Flush Yourself podcast with Jared Kirk and Matt Milbauer. Hey listeners, I want to thank our sponsor, Bird Hunter Supply, your go-to for premium hunting gear at birdhuntersupply.com. This family-owned business run by a husband and wife team from Idaho is driven by their love for bird hunting, dog training, and the great outdoors. For them, hunting is a treasured family tradition. Think crisp mornings in the field and the thrill of the chase and those irreplaceable moments with dogs, family, and friends. They've built Bird Hunter Supply to share that passion, curating high-quality gear to help you create your own lasting hunting memories with your crew. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned hunter, Bird Hunter Supply has you covered with top-notch equipment from dog training tools to hunting apparel, backed by exceptional customer service to make your experience unforgettable. Best of all, they're deeply committed to preserving the wild spaces we love. When you shop at birdhuntersupply.com, you can choose at checkout to direct a percentage of your order to conservation powerhouses like Pheasants Forever, Ruffed Grouse Society, or Delta Waterfowl. Your purchase helps these groups protect vital habitats and sustain the wildlife that makes our sport possible, ensuring hunting traditions thrive for generations. Visit birdhuntersupply.com today, explore the carefully selected gear, and support a family-run business dedicated to both hunters and the outdoors. That's birdhuntersupply.com. Gear up, hunt with purpose, and help preserve the wild. Hey everyone, Matt here. Solo today, no Jared. We're doing another history of podcast. We'll get into that in just a second. First, I want to bring up that if you happen to be in southeastern Washington State, or really from anywhere, but it's a little more traveling if you're further away, our local Pheasants Forever chapter, the Benton Franklin Pheasants Forever chapter, we're putting on a Clays for Conservation event. It's our first kind of larger event that we've done as a chapter. We're about a year and a half old now, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you're in the Tri-Cities, Washington area or the surrounding areas and don't mind traveling, we're going to have a clay shoot essentially with champion, some prizes, lunch served. There are only 30 spots available. Registration's not open yet. It will be opening soon. Once it is, I'll announce it on this podcast. We'll announce it on our social media. So if you're in the area, interested in coming out, supporting a good cause, having a good time, even if you're not a great shot, you get to shoot some. That might be me while we're out there. But you get to shoot some and hang out. And this will be in late March 28th at 10 a.m. in West Richland, Washington. So I wanted to let you all know about that. Okay, let's get into our next history of episode. Today we're talking about a dog breed. We've done one already, and that was the Labrador Retriever. I think undoubtedly the most popular of the, I'll call flushing dog breeds, even though they're a retriever. There's probably some debate there, but we'll just call them all flushing dogs like we do here on Go Flush Yourself. But the Cocker is at number 2. I think it's number 3 behind the Springer, if you count the numbers, but it's up there in popularity as well. And that's what we're talking about, is the English Cocker Spaniel and kind of Cocker Spaniels in general, because there are many different types, if you weren't aware of just Cockers, different, I guess you'd call it strains inside the breed. It's an old history, a long history of this little breed. And it's interesting because what kind of has me curious about Cockers, and like I said before in the podcast, I owned one for a little bit, and owning another one is never far from my mind, and it's also far from my mind. And if you've ever been around or owned a Cocker, you know what I'm talking about. Their little personalities are great. They're so smart and unique and can be mischievous, full of energy, and at the same time, as all of those things can be difficult if you're a dog owner, as well as you're probably aware with your own bird dogs in one way or another. But that being said, this little Cocker Spaniel, they're not big dogs. They're 20, 25 pounds. Some a little more, some a little less. How is the Cocker Spaniel winning the hearts of so many bird dog owners? when there's so many breeds out there that are bigger and arguably stronger and can see over some of the weeds they're running through? What is it about the Cocker that has people keep coming back and continuously interested about it? That's one of the reasons I'm looking at this today. Also, it's a really interesting history. So with that, up next, the history of the English Cocker Spaniel. The English Cocker Spaniel isn't born in a kennel or a show ring. It was hammered out of the anvil of necessity in the wet, thorn-laced underbrush of ancient Britain, where survival meant outsmarting the land's hidden bounties with 4 legs, a nose like a divining rod, and a heart that wouldn't quit. This dog, this compact bundle of muscle and mania, wasn't designed for laps or leashes. It was engineered for war against the wild. A feathered apocalypse for woodcock, pheasant, and anything else that dared hide in the brambles while men with guns waited above. And if you think that's hyperbole, consider this. For over 700 years, the Cocker has been the unsung infantry of the hunt, charging into covers that would shred a human, flushing game that fed empires, and retrieving the fallen in ways that turned mere sport into a symphony of life, death, and dinner. But to understand the Cocker, you have to peel back the layers of history, not the sanitized pedigree charts of modern breeders, but the bloody, mud-caked annals where dogs weren't pets, they were tools, allies, sometimes the difference between a full belly and starvation. Let's start at the beginning, or at least as far back as the records allow us to squint into the fog of medieval Europe. The Spaniel family, and make no mistake, the Cocker is a branch of that ancient tree, traces its roots to the Iberian Peninsula, that's Spain and Portugal, where the name Spaniel itself likely derives from Espanol, the Spanish dogs brought over by Roman legions or later traders. But it's in the British Isles where they truly take shape. By the 14th century, we're seeing references in manuscripts that paint a picture of these dogs as essential to the aristocratic pursuit of falconry and netting. Gaston III, Count of Foix, better known as Gaston Phobius, wrote his seminal Livre de Chasse, excuse my poor pronunciation, in 1387, a hunting Bible that dedicates chapters to the Espagnols, or Spaniels. Phobius describes them not as a uniform breed, but as functional types, dogs that quest or search the ground, beating bushes to flush birds for the hawks above. These dogs, he writes, are good for hawking, for they make the partridges and the quails spring. They are very serviceable in the fens and woods for taking pheasants and woodcocks with the net. Unquote. Imagine the scene. A feudal lord on horseback, his falcon hooded on his wrist. A pack of these shaggy, eager spaniels crashing through the undergrowth. No guns yet, just nets stretched across clearings, or hawks stooping from the sky like feathered missiles. The spaniels were the agitators, the provocateurs, diving into the dense cover where larger hounds like greyhounds or mastiffs would flounder. And among them, the smaller ones, the cocking spaniels as they were called, earned their name from the woodcock, that cryptic, long-billed bird that burrows into leaf litter and explodes upward in erratic flight. Woodcock hunting was no casual affair. It was a test of nerve and skill. The bird's camouflage and zigzagging escape make it a prize for the elite. Chaucer's The Knight's Tale in the late 1300s nods to this world, with knights hawking by the river and dogs at their heels, though he doesn't specify breeds. But estate records from the time do. In 1389, the household accounts of the Bishop of Ely list payments for spaniels, kept for hunting, valued at sums that could buy a peasant's yearly wage. These early spaniels weren't standardized. Litters varied wildly. Some puppies grew larger, suited for springing game into open fields. Others stayed compact, perfect for the tight, thorny spots where the woodcock lurked. Selection was brutal and practical. Dogs that didn't perform were culled or given away. Breeding was haphazard. Crosses with local hounds or even setters to infuse better noses or stamina. By the 15th century, under Henry VII and the Tudors, hunting laws tightened. The Game Acts restricted poaching, making spaniels the province of the nobility. Poachers caught with a spaniel could face hanging. Such was the dog's value as a multiplier of illicit gains. Yet, in the shadows, commoners bred their own rough versions, smuggling them into forests for survival hunts. This duality, elite tool versus every man's ally, set the stage for the Cocker's enduring split personality, the showpiece and the scrapper. Fast forward to the 16th century, and the Renaissance brings change. Guns are trickling in, matchlocks, wheel locks, crude but transformative. No longer is the hunt solely about hawks or nets. Now it's about flushing and blasting. Nicholas Cock's The Gentleman's Recreation in 1677 captures the shift. Quote, "The spaniel is a dog most useful for the gun, for he will beat the bushes and flush the birds, and after the shot, retrieve them softly without mangling." Unquote. The Cocker emerges more distinctly here. Smaller than the Springer Spaniel, bred specifically for woodcock in dense woodland. Size mattered. 15 to 25 pounds, low to the ground, with a coat that shed water and thorns alike. Colors? Liver, black, roan, whatever worked, as long as the nose was keen and the drive was unyielding. Picture a hunt in Elizabethan England, mist driving off the Thames marshes, a gentleman in a doublet and hose, his wheel-lock musket primed with black powder, his cocker, let's call him a proto-breed, shaggy-eared and whip-tailed, plunges into the reeds. The dog quarters methodically, nose down, tail a blur. Suddenly, woodcock bursts forth, twisting like a corkscrew. The gun booms. Acrid smoke billows, and the bird tumbles. The cocker marks the fall, swims out if needed, and returns the prize clamped gently in the jaws, trained, maybe even bred, not to crush. This wasn't leisure, it was sustenance and status. Queen Elizabeth I herself kept spaniels, her court buzzing with tales of royal hunts where dogs like these turn outings into feasts. But the 17th century brings civil war and chaos. The English Civil War from 1642 to 1651 scatters kennels, with cavaliers and roundheads alike repurposing dogs for messenger work or camp guards. Oliver Cromwell, that Puritan killjoy, banned many sports, but hunting persisted underground. Post-Restoration, under Charles II, himself a spaniel lover, breeding what became the King Charles variety, the Cockers regains footing. Books like Gervase Markham's The Art of the Archery in 1634 evolve into full treatises on gun dogs. Markham advises, quote, "Choose your spaniel small and active, with a merry tail and a bold eye, for he must endure briars and cold waters." Unquote. Breeding becomes more intentional, crosses with water spaniels for retrieve or Irish setters for range. By 1700, the Cocker is recognizable, compact, energetic, with that signature busy action that upland hunters still rave about today. The 18th century industrializes the hunt. Enclosure acts reshape the landscape, turning common lands into private estates. Shooting becomes formalized, driven shoots, where beaters flush game towards lines of guns. But for the true upland purist, the solitary walker, the Cocker shines. Daniel's Rural Sports from 1769 praises them, quote, "The Cocker Spaniel is the most hardy. He will hunt all day, in the thickest cover, and retrieve through hedge and ditch." Unquote. This era sees the first hints of specialization. Larger spaniels become springers, leaping to flush. Cockers stay small for precision work. The Duke of Norfolk breeding liver and white cockers that dominate local shoots. Anecdotes abound. A cocker named Juno in 1750 retrieving 50 woodcock in a single day for her master, a feat recorded in sporting journals. Enter the 19th century, the Victorian explosion. Railways connect the countryside, guns improve, percussion caps, breech loaders, and hunting booms as a middle-class pursuit. The cocker solidifies. In 1840, Youatt's The Dog describes cockers as under 20 pounds, with wavy coats and pendulous ears, bred for, quote, cocking in the woodlands. But litters are still mixed. A bitch might whelp both cocker and Springer pups, sorted by size at weaning. The Kennel Club forms in 1873, registering field spaniels initially, but by 1874, only a year later, cockers get lumped in under 25 pounds. Chaos reigns. Judges argue over types, with Clumber and Sussex varieties muddying the waters. The Spaniel Club in 1885 brings order, but it's the field trials that forge the breed's soul. The first Spaniel trial, 1899 at Ipsley, Worcestershire. Dogs compete in natural cover, flushing and retrieving under judges' eyes. A cocker named Bramble wins, described in The Field magazine as a liver bitch of 18 pounds, quartering like a demon, steady to shot. Trials multiply. Bala in Wales, 1902. The Spaniel Championship by 1907. Key figures emerge. R. Lloyd Price, author of The Practical Shooting, 1880, breeds working cockers that influence lines for decades. His dogs, compact, with strong quarters for bursting speed. But the show ring pulls the other way. Crufts starts in 1891, and suddenly conformation matters. Long ears, dome skulls, flowing coats. The weight limit drops in 1902, allowing bigger cockers, but purists howl. Obo, a foundational sire imported from America in 1879, ironically as lines crossed oceans early, sires champions like Obo II, blending show and field, yet divergence creeps in. Show dogs get prettier, field dogs get grittier. By 1900, the English cocker is exporting globally, to Australia for rabbiting, Canada for grouse. Across the pond, America adopts the cocker with gusto. First imports, 1878, a dog named Captain to New York. American woods dense with quail and woodcock suit them perfectly. The American Kennel Club, the AKC, registers them in 1881, but they're shown with springers until 1905. Hunters like A.C. Wilmerding breed for functions. His Midnight line produces dogs that win early trials, but the fancy splits. Urbanites want glamour. The American cocker emerges. Smaller, rounder head, luxurious coat. Think Lady from Lady and the Tramp. By 1920, it's diverging fast. Clara Bow, the it girl, poses with her American cocker. Hollywood amplifies the trend. The English type holds true to its roots, though. In Britain, field trials intensify. The 1910s see legends like Jetsam Boulder, a liver and white bitch, winning both shows and trials, proving dual purpose is still possible. But World War I shatters everything. Kennels empty as men march to trenches. Dogs are euthanized for food shortages, believe it or not. The Spaniel Club suspends activities. Survivors? Tough lines like those from H.S. Lloyd's Ware Kennel started pre-war. Lloyd, a visionary breeder, focuses on working ability amid rationing. Post-1918, post-World War I, we have a revival. The 1920s boom. Cockers become popular pets. Registrations soar, but field enthusiasts form the Cocker Spaniel Field Trial Society in 1923. Trials resume. Dogs like Ivercloy Ranger, a black cocker dominating 1920 stakes. Genetics deepen. Breeders use Mendelian principles, selecting for nose via scent test and retrieve, the soft mouth being essential. Colors standardize. Party colors favored for visibility and cover. Then the American fork hardens. In 1936, AKC separates classes. In 1946, full breed split. The English cocker, taller, 14 to 15 inches, leaner, 26 to 34 pounds, higher set ears, it stays the hunter. Americans import field-bred English for trials. The National Cocker Spaniel Field Trial Association forms in 1937. Early champs, like High-Tone Joe, imported in the 1930s, set benchmarks. Joe retrieves through brambles that lacerate handlers, winning the National in 1941. World War II hits harder. Britain blackouts. Bombs level kennels. Lloyd's Ware dogs endure, though. Tracy Witch of Ware wins Crufts in 1938 and 39, and then in post-war 48 and 50. Lloyd evacuates pups to the countryside, breeding through air raids. Food rationing starves lines. Many vanish. In America, the war boosts hunting as morale. English cockers serve in canine units, sniffing mines. Post-1945, resurgence. Britain rebuilds. The Utility Gun Dog Society promotes working tests. America sees imports like Sahab of Stonywood winning nationals in the 1950s. In the 50s and 60s, trials professionalize. In Britain, the championship stake at Sandringham crowns champs like Speckle of Ardoon. In America, the National Open Cocker Championship, started in 1939, explodes. Dogs like Gypsy Joe, 1958 winner, embody grit. Small, dark, explosive. Handlers describe them as pocket rockets, quartering at 20 miles an hour, flushing with fury. The training evolves from harsh breaks to positive reinforcement, influenced by behavioralists like Konrad Lorenz. But popularity curses. By the 1970s, show cockers flood the markets. Pet mills churn pups with health issues from eye problems to rage syndrome. Field lines diverge further, shorter coats, functional builds. The 1980s and 90s, like many things in the world, saw globalization for the cocker. In the U.S., the English Cocker Spaniel Club of America split show and field sections. Legends emerge. Flathelm Accord, 1998 national winner, a roan bitch retrieving through ice. Or Warner's Ike, youngest winner at 2 years old, setting records. In modern day, genetics advance. DNA tests for PRA and eye disease, breeding healthier lines. Field trials tech up. GPS collars track quarters, but challenges. Habitat loss shrinks upland game. Anti-hunting sentiments rise. Yet the cocker endures. In the 2020s, amid the COVID pandemic, hunting surges as escape. English cockers star in podcasts and YouTube hunts, resurging as a popular hunting breed. The post-2020 cocker craze, as it's been called, wasn't some gentle resurgent. It was a wildfire, ignited by lockdowns of 2020, fanned by empty offices and endless Zoom calls, and fed by a collective human desperation for something warm, alive, and uncomplicated in a world that had suddenly become anything but. When the planet shut down, people didn't just adopt dogs, they adopted lifelines. And among the breeds that surged in the aftermath, the English Cocker Spaniel didn't merely ride the wave, it carved its own channel through the chaos, emerging sharper, more visible, and more divided than ever between the velvet show ring and the thorn-choked field. Think back to March 2020 if you dare. Streets are empty, borders are sealed, the daily rhythm of life reduced to four walls, a screen, and the same four faces if you were lucky. Humans are pack animals. We don't do isolation well. The data later confirmed that every shelter and breeder already knew. Pet adoptions exploded. In the UK, the Kennel Club saw registrations spike across many breeds, but working gun dogs, especially spaniels, benefited disproportionately from the pandemic puppy phenomenon. People wanted dogs that promised companionship with purpose, dogs that could fill the void left by canceled hunts, closed trials, and the sudden absence of social structure. The English Cocker, with its compact size, perfect for apartments, merry temperament, and historic reputation as cheerful, energetic partner, became the ideal lockdown companion. Not the fluffy American version that dominated Hollywood calendars 100 years ago. This was the English type, leaner, rangier, with that intense, almost predatory focus when a scent hit. By 2021 and 2022, the craze was undeniable. In Britain, where the breed has always held a special place, registrations climbed steadily. The Royal Kennel Club's figures showed the breed holding strong in the top 20 pedigrees, bolstered by a new wave of owners who discovered the dog during the darkest months. Across the Atlantic in America, the AKC's annual rankings reflected the same tide. While the overall top spots stayed with Labs and Golden, English Cockers crept upward in visibility. The pandemic didn't crown a new number one breed, but it amplified the ones that felt authentic. Dogs that could hike, run, play fetch for hours, and still curl up at your feet when the world felt too big and maybe even too frightening. Yet this surge carried a double-edged blade. For every new owner who wanted a, quote, real hunting dog, someone who'd watched upland videos on YouTube during the quarantine and dreamed of walking coverts with a feisty flusher, there were 10 who simply wanted the cute, wavy-coated face they've seen in memes or on Instagram. The result? A massive influx into the show lines. Breeders with established bench stock saw litter sell out in days, prices climb, and waiting lists stretch into years. The classic show cocker, domed head, long, low-set ears, flowing coat that demands daily brushing, became the poster child of the craze. These dogs are beautiful, affectionate, and perfectly sized for suburban backyards. They looked the part of the pandemic companion, merry, trainable, and photogenic. But the field lines, the true descendants of the medieval cockers, the ones bred for woodcock and grouse, with shorter coats, higher set ears, and bodies built like coiled springs, felt the heat differently. Working breeders, many of whom had kept their operations small and selective for decades, suddenly faced a flood of inquiries from people who'd never held a gun, but now wanted a, quote, hunting cocker. Some seized the moment, expanding litters and exporting to new hunters discovering the breed. Others viewed it with suspicion. The same people who'd never set foot in a trial were now asking for a field trial champion. The split widened. Social media groups explode with debates. Show versus field. Aren't they basically different breeds now? Reddit threads, Facebook posts, breeder forums, all lit up with attention. Fieldbred cockers were described as pocket rockets, feisty demons, and dogs that would argue with you over who scented the bird first. Show types were called teddy bears, gorgeous, and often softer in drive. The national championships told their own story amid the craze. In 2020, as the world locked down, the National Open Cocker Championship still went forward, with precautions, and an English cocker named Tully claimed the title, following in her sire's footsteps, proving the old working lines hadn't paused for a virus. Then came the post-2020 winners that showed the breed's enduring fire. Dogs like Ike, who set records as the youngest national winner in recent memory, a compact dark machine that tore through the courses with a kind of relentless quartering that makes handlers grin and spectators whisper, "That's the real thing." More recently, in the early 2020s, champions like Majestic Sweet Apple Friends in Low Places dominated both field and show elements, blurring lines in ways that reminded everyone the breed's strength lies in its versatility. If you don't let the extremes pull it apart. The craze wasn't without casualties. Puppy mills and backyard breeders smelled opportunity. Prices for English Cocker puppies doubled, tripled in some cases. Health issues, already a concern with popular breeds, surfaced in poorly bred litters. Eye problems, ear infections, from those long show ears, even the infamous cocker rage, a rare neurological glitch, in lines that had been overbred for looks. Rescues filled with pandemic impulse buys. Dogs surrendered when owners returned to offices and realized the high-energy spaniel wasn't a couch potato. The Kennel Club and the breed clubs issued warnings. Research the breeder. Know what you're getting. This isn't just a cute face. Yet for upland hunters, the craze was a gift wrapped in thorns. New blood into the field trial world. Enthusiasts who started with lockdown walks ended up with cattails, or in the cattails, gun in hand, dog at heel. Working tests proliferated. Hunt test venues saw record entries. The English Cocker Spaniel Club of America reported spikes in membership and at events. People who'd never hunted before were training for the national, learning to read a quarter, to steady to flush, to honor another dog's bird. The old guard, those grizzled handlers who campaigned dogs through the lean years, found themselves mentoring newcomers, passing down the lore of the breed while watching it evolve in real time. By 2025 and even now in early 2026, the fever has now kind of cooled, but the landscape has changed. The English Cocker stood taller in the public eye. More registrations overall, more visibility in the sporting world, more videos of epic retrieves going viral. The tension between the show and the field hadn't resolved. It has now sharpened. Purists in upland circles clung to the working type, shorter coat to avoid snags, functional build, that explosive drive. Show fanciers defended the beauty and temperament of their lines. So here we are in very early 2026, looking back at the cocker craze as a chapter in a very long saga. Not the beginning, not the end, just another crucible. The same little warrior that plunged into the 14th century thickets now bounds across pandemic-scarred lawns and rediscovered coverts. It's still the dog that says, "Throw me in there, I'll find it. I'll bring it back." And in the process, maybe, just maybe, I'll remind you what it feels like to be alive when everything else has gone quiet. The feathers still fly, the fury still burns, and English Cocker Spaniel, as always, is right in the thick of it. In summary, the merry little cocker has had immense cultural impact, from Shakespeare's spaniel metaphors, fawning loyalty, to modern lit Hemingway hunted with cockers in Idaho. In art, Stubbs paints them in 18th century scenes. Modern photos capture flushes midair. Genetically, the cocker is a mosaic. Mitochondrial DNA traces to ancient Asian wolves via European hounds. The English cocker's the star for a reason. Not the biggest, not the flashiest, but the one that gets in, gets dirty, gets the bird. Its history and fur. From medieval flushes to modern trials. A saga of adaptation, loss, triumph. And that's the thread. From Phoebus's page to today's thorn-choked coverts, the English Cocker Spaniel, not just a dog, but a living chronicle of man's pact with the wild. If history teaches anything, it's that this little warrior will outlast us all. Tail wagging, nose to the ground, ready for the next flush. Well, thanks for listening to the history of the English Cocker Spaniel. I think it's super interesting. This little breed's been around for hundreds of years, evolving with the times, and it's still more than relevant today. Anyhow, whether you ever own a Cocker Spaniel or not, I hope you appreciate them for what they are, and hopefully you at least get to hunt over one at some point in the future. Please also know that I wrote today's script with AI, trying to figure out this history and trying to figure out exactly what we wanted to say. I believe, to my knowledge, I have all the facts right. I may not. So please excuse any issues. If you do find something that you think we got wrong, you can write to us on social media and email. Links are in the podcast description. If you want to help correct us, we're happy to reissue correction on air in a future episode if needed. Also, please excuse any pronunciations that I got wrong. There's a lot of strange Cocker Spaniel names and old names from Britain in the past that I tried to look up to get to pronounce right. But if I got any wrong, apologies for that as well. Anyhow, until next time, this is Matt from Go Flush Yourself. We'll talk to y'all later. Thanks for listening to the Go Flush Yourself podcast. You can continue the conversation on our Discord server. The link is in the podcast description. You can also follow along with Matt and Jared on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to support the podcast, you can subscribe to the Go Flush Yourself on Patreon for the easy monthly cost of only $2. You can also check out our shop and pick up a Go Flush Yourself sticker, shirt, or other merchandise. All links are in the podcast description.